Had some minor issues there. I think he's all settled. Is Cleve Ottey. Ottey helps so many drivers in Jamaica, including Nicholas Taz Barnes, who you have seen before. Let's see how he does. You saw the student before. He is a teacher. The teacher has done well. The teacher has done well in the aftermath of seeing his student going off firstly here. The Red Bull car park drift, wonderful run.
Yes, a very wonderful run. Like he made it look easy in these sketchy conditions, but there you can just see how much experience he has. Like there was the slightest hiccup here just on the entry to box 2. You saw he had to open up the steering a little bit, but other than that, he was almost flawless in this run. So yeah, very, very hard conditions, and he just made it look so easy.
And there was a bit more, he was a bit more attack-minded, I figured, with his run as opposed to what Taz Barnes did, and it's reflected in the score of 269.
Yes. So very deserved score here. Yeah, awesome driving. Looking forward what comes up next.
Well, that was wonderfully done. Cleve Ottey, they call him Cutter Hype in his Toyota Starlet. Sheldon Johnson, Z-Boss, is coming up next in his Nissan 350. I can tell you that the standard bearers of last year are bringing it this year again. That's a wonderful drive from Sheldon Johnson.
Yes, he's done an amazing job there. Again, you saw how much experience there is, and he was able to adjust to all the conditions out there. Very tidy around in the figure of 8. The only tricky bit was right there. He stalled up a little bit on the entrance to box 2. He lost the momentum there, but he just readjusted, reinitiated, and kept going from there. This is also a really good talent, because sometimes if you once off the line, it's very hard to get back in the rhythm, to find the momentum and everything. Let's see what the scores say for this gentleman here.
Sheldon Johnson. We saw 269 going up for Cleve Ottey before. He's a real standard bearer of the run so far. What will Z-Boss get? Sheldon Johnson Still waiting for the judge's card to come in, and he's anxiously waiting as well.
This is the hardest bit as a driver after the run. Adrenaline is super high, and you have to wait and can't move. Like for me, at least personally, there's like more almost like nervousness than before the start. So yeah, let's see what the judges decide, and see what the score is.
He would have also known what he would have done wrong as well, so that's playing in the back of his mind as he's waiting on the score. But again, not a whole lot of mistakes he would have made. Just the one we could have spotted.
Yep, the one big one. There's a score.
210.
Yep. The judges are really sharp, and they obviously saw the mistake, and they penalized it for that. But still, a big score, I would say, for him, and he's definitely looking for the next heat to improve.
Yep. 3 drivers so far. He's presently in 3rd spot. Taz Barnes would have collected 245, Clevotti 269, and of course Sheldon Johnson just now 210. Chris Addison is next. Wonderful. That really is wonderful. CJ Addison with the drive there. Started off hesitantly, I figured, and then he just grew confidently as the ride went on.
Yeah, he took a little bit of a different approach to the figure of 8. He stayed a little bit wider. I think it's also quite okay to do it in his angry sounding AE86. He managed to get the entry to box 2 perfectly. Then to flip a 1, I think he was a little bit hesitant. But other than that, there were some small, tiny hiccups. I think it will affect the drifting skills. He hit a small cone there in the last obstacle. But other than that, it was still a really great run.
Good score too, 249 points.
Yep, definitely. As I said, it was only small things, so it was not a big stall as we have seen before. So yeah, CJ will be happy with that.
2nd spot at the moment. But yeah, good accumulation of points there, 249. Steven Samuels is set to go next. They call him Drift Kid, also in his Toyota Starlet. Here we go. the difficulty of navigating a car like this. Otti did it expertly with his run. What are your thoughts on what Stephen Samuels did here?
Like, he was super smooth at a figure of 8, also entering box 1. Like, he only applied as much throttle as he needed. He was very clever in choosing the lines, but from the middle of the run it seemed to fall a little bit apart. He hit the cones at the flipper 2, which is probably the most difficult obstacle. And then in the end he had some small hiccups in the spinner. There he hit, here we just see it, he hit some cones there, which is really unfortunate, but there you see how difficult the conditions are.
Yep, 239 points beside his name, Stephen Samuels.
Still very good points, and I can see why, because the drifting skills in total were super good. He was super smooth on throttle, on steering inputs, had very minimal corrections, only these small mistakes at the flipper 2 and in the spinner at the end.
Maurice Whittingham, a veteran in drifting here in Jamaica, he's up next. He wants to make a mark in his Toyota Corolla.
Pull the cable, pull out the cable out there.
The veteran has come out to play here. What a drive by Maurice Whittingham.
Oh yes, like the complete opposite to Steven. Like, he loves to apply the throttle. He even got like the nicest line around after box 1, the transition and the pendulum. This was amazing, like very fluent, very good, and a lot of throttle application. So he really came to play and he showed what he's capable of doing. And also, if I'm not mistaken, after the figure 11, he actually shifted up in second gear to make the long transition there. He hit a couple cones in a spiral, but he was already celebrating. He's happy with what he saw.
Let's see what the judges gave him. 253. Yep. 253, second highest of the afternoon so far.
He can be happy with that, and for the next heat, I guess he's in. He won't hit the cones in the spinner.
Ryan Richard is up next. Ryan Richard in his Toyota Starlet as well. Richard Ryan in his Starlet. Another wonderful looking drive there from him.
Yes, like very tidy, and with the Toyota Starlet with a short wheelbase, it's very tricky, and we saw him doing an amazing job, also hitting the pendulum, getting a super entry to box 2, and then also to flipper 1, he made the line work. However, he missed the flipper 2. He was a little bit short there. Probably the RPM just didn't reach out there. And here on the far side, the big puddle in the back, he almost spun out there, but then he had a phenomenal drive to the end. He hit the spinner, and let's see what the judges think about him.
Yeah, 247 points for Richard Ryan. And not bad going for him as he begins his journey to finish on top here at the Red Bull Car Racing Drift in Montego Bay. Should be pleased. Up next, Ian Wright in his Datsun 210. If ever there was a classic car, this is it.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Well, it was a smashing performance at times from Ian Wright.
Yes, like in the beginning he did a really tidy run. He managed to find the line perfectly out of the figure of 8 into box 1. Out of there, and also the transition towards the pendulum worked really well. I had the chance to chat to him earlier, and he said he has struggled to do that, but this was perfect. Small hiccup into box 2. But then when he came to the flippers, there you now can see how hard these obstacles are. He hit the barrel there. That's unfortunately a 0 for him. However, he continued on, he didn't get out of the rhythm, and he finished strong in the end. So let's see what the judges say, but I would say he can be really pleased with the run.
240. 240 points, yeah.
Yes, it was basically, in quotes, only the flippers that make him lose points. The rest was very, very good. And he seems to be happy as well with the result.
So points there for the right touch. Ian Wright, 240 beside his name. Yuan Townsend is up next to take on the track in his Toyota FT86.
2, 1.
He took a souvenir with him at times, did Yuan Townsend, but in the end, he finished okay. Let's see what the scores would say, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think he was a little bit surprised by how little the grip was. We saw him swinging wide in the first figure of 8. However, he made the line work towards the pendulum, coming to box 2. Yeah, he took the souvenir. What we also can say, like, this is quite too close to stock car. Like, there are minimal modifications to this car. And yeah, I mean, in the end, he was a little bit, let's say, out of the rhythm, touched a couple of cones, but it's amazing to see that you also can score 95 points here.
It's the lowest so far we've seen.
It is the lowest. However, you have to see that the drivers before him were really on a top level.
Krishna Gardner is next in his Toyota Altezza. He's ready.
He's definitely ready.
Yeah, he wanted to be a game changer, but we have to stress that it's really difficult out there.
It is, but he is definitely so far the most aggressive driver. Like, he loves to floor it. I would call him now full throttle Christian. So he had a small spin going into box 1, but he recovered from it quite well. He did manage to hit most of the obstacles. However, there was always a little bit of being a bit too wide and offline, so he made his life a little bit harder than it would need to be. However, he definitely enjoyed being out on track. You could hear this from the scream of his engine, and I think in the end he tried to get all of them.
Yeah, let's see what the scores are for this one. But yeah, a score of 90. So he clocked a couple of zeros with some of the obstacles there, but it's going to be difficult for him to be in the top 8, but he has surely enjoyed his run so far. That's Krishna Gardner. Next up, Elsa Dixon, aka LCD in his Toyota Corolla. Elsa Dixon there, LCD in his Toyota Corolla. Your thoughts on that run?
So yeah, clearly now you can see how much skill is involved to make this look easy. So he had quite a good start with a figure of 8, and then in the box 1 the first cone touched and it threw him off the line. It made the rest of the run really tricky. He just touched the pendulum. Let's see if the judges really give it to him. Box 2 was fine, but then coming to the flippers, really tricky. He hit the cones, he touched the flipper, however, he was just on the wrong line, couldn't continue the drift, so this will definitely give lower points. So let's see what the judges think about that.
205 points.
Not too bad, he's happy with that, and I think he can. Like, I mean, there were some small hiccups, but it was definitely not a bad run. It just showed how difficult it is to make it look easy.
So, Brandon Wright up next in his Toyota Starlet. We've seen a few of them today.
Oh yes, I really love these cars. We don't have them in Central Europe, so really love the shape of them and that they are rear-wheel drive actually.
Well, has a bit of an issue there.
Yeah, it seems like a mechanical issue, probably a drive shaft broken or differential. It seems like he tried to restart, but there was something blocking the drive. So, yeah, we probably need a rescue car now for him. Very unfortunate, I think. But
he was doing well, though. He really was.
He was doing well, especially in the beginning. He had some small troubles. Like, yeah, starting off with a figure of 8, he really showed his talent and his skill. He made it look easy. Here it was a bit tricky for him to continue the drift towards the pendulum. He did make the flipper 1, however he lost quite a lot of momentum and that threw him off the correct line. And then it just happened in the figure of 11 where actually something broke in the drivetrain. We could just see that the rear stopped, probably without him pulling the e-brake, so something probably just, yeah, dismantled in the back in the drive. Oh, it seems like it is movable, which is a good point. Probably he put it in neutral and he could move it. Maybe it's a gearbox, maybe it's something else. Yeah, he will find out.
Unfortunate for him, though. Very unfortunate, yeah, because, of course, a DNF means that you won't be able to continue. So, Spencer Whittingham up next. They're just making sure that the track is good ahead of this drive from Spencer Whittingham. be such a critical thing when you're doing drifting, and as was the case there for Spencer Whittingham. Once he lost it, he found it difficult to get back on the train.
Exactly. Like this is also a quite interesting build. It looks to me like it might be had been used for rally driving, and he needed it there. He clipped the curb on the inside, very spectacular. But luckily, he had quite a lot of suspension travel. But that seemed to throw him off the line. He couldn't make the entrance to box 2, and then he was struggling quite hard with the rest of the track. However, he made it work until the end. I think he missed the gear or something here. He had to reverse back, but he definitely made it to the finish line. Let's see what the judges say.
Yeah, he's probably thinking about that drive. Still has a smile on his face. 76, the lowest score of the evening so far, outside of the DNF, of course, for Spencer Whittingham.
Yeah, I think he's still happy, and that he survived clipping the curb. This could have cost him a front suspension, but with this car it looked like it just could take the hit. But with the next car, I think he shouldn't hit any of the curbs.
Kemar Brown is up next in his Nissan 350 Z. Here we go. Positive mindset throughout as he attacked the different challenges and obstacles, but just a few mistakes in there.
Yeah, like he has a very aggressive driving style, and the line between making it work and disaster is very, very fine, and he flirted with disaster quite a couple times. I think he hit the curb once, and it also offset his suspension in the rear left. Like you can see, the camber is off. So this is quite tricky. I mean, the car looks stunning with a white body kit on it. But yeah, he can be, in my eyes, really happy that he made it to the finish line with the car somewhat in one piece. I think he fall apart in the end a little bit. But yeah, there you can see how tricky the conditions are, how treacherous they can be. And yeah, the score is in.
89. 89 for Kemar Brown. John Bryan is up next. John Bryan out of Montego Bay as well in his Subaru BRZ. Let's see how he does. John Bryan has been drifting for about a year.
Wow.
A year. And he has put in a performance here which may put him in the top 8. That's a brilliant ride.
Yes, like he started really strong, really smooth. He had some difficulties right here towards the pendulum. He touched it. I guess the judges won't give it to him. However, he really showed a calculated run. Like he knew his ability and he adjusted to the obstacles. And I think he collected quite some points over the entire run. It was probably not the most spectacular, but for a guy who is drifting for 1 year, big up, I would say.
Let's see his score. Should be interesting. 157.
This definitely puts him out of the bottom fight. Let's see if it's enough to go to the top 8. Let's see.
Yep. So, Steven Silvera, White Boy, that's his name, his nickname, coming up next in his Toyota GT86.
2, 1, go.
Silvera, with that drive, your thoughts?
Like Steven, I was chatting to him just before his ride, and I think his practice lap was in dry condition, and he had a hard time to adjust to the grip. We can see him swing wide in the figure of 8, hitting the cone over in the first box. However, he made it somewhat round the track, but I think it was just a little bit too much having the practice in dry and then adjusting to the wet conditions that are out there now. However, in the end, he got the feeling for the grip, and he made the last figures work quite well, even though he had another stall here in the spinner, but he made it round and over the finish line. So I think he can be quite happy with that, and the score is in.
Yep, 146 points for Steven Silvera.
It looks like he's quite happy with that, and I think, as I said, adjusting from completely dry to completely wet conditions in just like you are at the starting line and you have to adjust is very tricky, but he made it work in the end.
So Dane Lloyd is coming up next. And he's borrowing his friend's car, Krishna Gardner, from a little bit earlier on. He, of course, Gardner drove a Toyota Altreza, and he would really like to be a game changer himself. Let's see what he does. Lloyd took a souvenir himself with that drive. Of course, earlier Krishna Gardner in the same car clocked 90 points. Let's see how many points he will get from this ride.
Yeah, he also had a very aggressive style of driving. However, he lost some momentum just here before the pendulum, and that made him caught up in box 2. He really had a hard time getting out there, and this just shows once you lose the momentum, it's really hard to regain it. He tried to get the momentum back in the figure of 11 just here, and it seemed to work. However, there were some small hiccups in between. He stalled up again here, and then he tried to regain the momentum for the last obstacle, the spiral. So let's see what the judges think about that.
Yep, harsh. 66 points in the end. When they are, you describe them as hiccups, but really the judges don't anticipate you stalling at all. It has to be free-flowing movement.
Exactly. Like continuous drift with a really flowy line and don't stall.
So Rupert Chu is next on the track. There he is. With that drive, a couple of hiccups in there as well. It's going to be interesting to see the score.
Another run that just showed how hard it is once you lost the momentum, once you're off the line, to regain it and to make everything work. Like, he really worked the car hard, and it seemed like the car is quite a handful to drive, but right there he was completely out of momentum and also on the wrong line, so he had to back up, try to regain it. But yeah, also came to flipper 2 with two less momentum. He made it work around the figure of 11 and came in a little bit too hot for the spiral in the end. For the spinner. And he made it round over the line, but I think he can be happy. I just had a quick chat and
80 is the score.
80 is the score. He basically just came out of work straight here, put down a lap. Also big up for that. He seems to be still happy and enjoyed the run, and I think this is what drifting is also all about, enjoying and having fun while doing what you love.
There haven't been a lot of competitions in Jamaica this year, so a lot of these drivers, or all of these drivers, out of practice, so to speak, heading into this final. Tajay Mir is up next. TJ in his BMW E46. drive, he knew that he needed 211 points to stand a chance of going into the top 8. I'm not sure if he achieved that one.
It's tough. Like the car is a quite awesome build E46 BMW with a JC under the hood with a huge single turbo. I had a sneak under his bonnet yesterday, and it seems like he tried to keep the RPM always high, to keep the turbo spinning, the big turbo, and this made it really hard for him to be precise in some places. In the end, he made it work in the spinner, but let's see what the judges say. I have my doubts that this is enough for getting into the... Oh, well, it's 153 points. He collected, quite good over the entire course.
Yep, 153 points. Should be proud of his efforts. Tajamir.
Rajay Smith next, Rajay Smith.
Rajay Smith. I think he should be the final competitor in this preliminary round. We can tell you that the top 8 drivers that you would have seen, they are in the top 8 positions at the moment. So Rajay Smith, the magic number, 211 for him. Rajay Smith there with his Drive World Bites. The marker on his car. Knew that he needed 211 points, and again, it was a difficult drive for him.
Yes, however, he really collected a lot of points, I would say, over the track. Yesterday he struggled in my eyes way more in the practice runs. So I think he can be really happy. Had a really nice drive through the figure of 11. In the end, in the spinner, he fell apart a little bit, hit some cones, but I think he collected quite some points. Let's see if it's enough for the top 8.
213 points, and he has just got in. Based on what we have here, he's right on the edge in 8th position with 213 points. Yeah, you're right. He collected some big points in that ride.
Yeah, he just, even though it was not too spectacular, he didn't put much things wrong. That's why he just collected those points.
Anthony Arkins up next. Anthony Arkins in his BMW E36. So he now knows the magic number for him, 214. Yep, 214 points, the magic number for him. And, well, again, he struggled in parts, but would have collected a few points. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I also had the chance to have a quick chat with him earlier. He made the entrance quite well. However, you could see some smoke coming out of the bonnet. I think it was his turbo. He had some turbo issues before. He changed the turbo, but it was not in perfect condition, he told me. And it seemed like he was losing power over the run more and more. In the end, it was probably a naturally aspirated engine, not a turbo engine anymore. It is hard to say. He did quite some stuff good, but I think it's a tough number to beat for him. 240 points, let's see.
Anthony Arkane's 205 points.
Just shy of the 214. Still, I think with the mechanical issues he had, still a very good run. He managed to adapt well, and he tried everything he could.
Yep. So we're going to tell you some unofficial scores, but we can say that the penultimate drive that we saw from Rajay Smith just managed to edge out Sheldon Johnson, who finished third last year. So Johnson would be out of the top 8, which will begin in a few minutes' time. But is that a bit of a surprise? It may be a bit of a surprise to see Sheldon Johnson not making it through to the top 8.
I mean, the level of driving definitely is really high. I mean, the first couple drivers were amazing, and then there were some surprises in the end. So yeah, let's see.
Yeah, the run though, the drive of that first round was the second one you saw from Cleave. Cutter Hype was absolutely brilliant with his drive. 269 points he would have picked up there. We also saw Nicholas Barnes, who actually went out ahead a little bit conservatively, but in the end, conservatism was good for him. 245 points, and he safely through as well.
Definitely, like he could have put all on the line in the first run, but he knew that he has the experience and the talent to just put in a, in quotes, safe run with a high score that brings him through. Because yeah, I mean, if you go over the limit and crash your car, he might not even make it to the top 8. So I think this was a quite calculated run from him, and I'm really looking forward to see what we can see from him today.
One of the things we can tell you is that all 8 performers clocked over 200 points. You see there Cleave, as you mentioned before, with 269 points. Maurice Whittingham, 253. Chris Addison, 249. CJ Addison. Richard Ryan in 4th. 247 points, and then comes the champion Nicholas Barnes, the defending champion, on 245 points. Ian Wright 240, Stephen Samuels 239, and Rajay Smith 213 points. So our top 8 clocking over 200 points, and it sets up a fascinating battle for the top 8 as they seek to make it into the top 4. We take a break from the Catherine Hall Sports Complex. When we return, more action here at the Red Bull Car Racing Drift.
Why do we love football?
And we are here for the top 8. And they'll now battle for 4 spots in that final round. Just to recap, the top 8. Cleve Ottey out on top, Maurice Whittingham in second spot, Chris Addison, Richard Ryan, Nicholas Barnes, the defending champion, Ian Wright, Stephen Samuels and Rajay Smith round out the top 8. But this is the order from 8 to 1, with Rajay Smith expected to go out first. He clocked 213 points. He may want to go big here, Elias.
Yes, I saw some practice runs from him, and he seems to have very much difficulties with the track, but his last run was just amazing. I was so surprised seeing him improving that much, and I think he's over the moon, making it to the top 8, and he will be completely pumped to do the next run now.
Well, let's move from one of, as we see them actually rearranging the track. I think there's going to be a change in obstacle here for this second round, which will make it a tad more difficult, one suspects.
Yeah, I think they just brought out the other flippers, because often if they got hit often, then they at some point break off. So they just brought a second set in. I think the obstacles are in the same location, just look a little bit different, but they are actually more or less in the same location, so it should be as before.
So, Rajay Smith in his Toyota Altezza clocked 213 points. If we take a look at the other end, we see Cleve Ottey, who clocked 269 points. He will obviously go last in this round. We are ready to go for round 2. Understand him wanting to make a statement with this run, Rajay Smith, because he's last in the top 8, and he would want to bridge that gap between him and Ottey at the very top, but maybe a little bit too exuberant.
Yeah, he really put in a stormer start going around the figure of 8. Here, when it started to go wrong a little bit, out of the first box into the third box, he was really aggressive, and what we also can see, there are bright patches coming up in the track, so the track starts to dry down, and it makes it even more challenging for the drivers, because in spots you all of a sudden have a lot of grip, more than you expect, and in other spots, as here, you might have less grip. So he spun out just before the last obstacle, the spinner. So yeah, let's see what the judges think about this. I think it's not better than his score before. Yep, there
164 points for Rajay Smith.
Still, I think he can be really happy and really proud of himself. Seeing him improve from the practice runs to now is just amazing.
Stephen Samuels up next. Stephen Samuels, aka Drift Kid, in his Toyota Starlet. complete the course, hope to make it into the top 4. Not as much attacking as we actually saw him do in the first round, Stephen Samuels. But what are your thoughts on that drive?
It was a phenomenal run. Like, he really made everything work and make it look somewhat easy, even in those tricky conditions, going from low grip, from wet surface to dry surface. He actually also made both flippers work, just barely. A small change of angle there. But I think this is a really, really good run. Let's see what the judges think about.
He clocked 239 points in the first round, 270 points in the second. Big accumulation for Stephen Samuels with that run. And surely now with that drive, let's see, maybe one of the favorites to go through the top 4. That was a fantastic run. It really was, from Stephen Samuels. Up next, Ian Wright. Does he have the right touch? It is Datsun 210. Here we go. A gorgeous drive from Ian Wright with a right touch in his Datsun 210.
Yeah, he barely put a foot wrong, like started off super strong in the figure of 8. Also, we can see again like the changing conditions, but he made it work. Coming around, having a really nice and tidy transition towards the pendulum, a good entrance into box 2. And coming out here, there was a little tricky bit, like he came wide to the wet spot, didn't make the flipper 1. He made the flipper 2 just about work. But yeah, now we're basically at the top drivers, and this missing flipper will definitely hit his score.
Not as much as the first round, Ian Wright, 212 points with his second run. Clocked 240 points first time around. Nicholas Barnes, the defending champion, is out for his second drive. He bought this car 6 years ago from the former world record holder in the 100 meters, Asafa Powell. He needs to go a bit faster with this one here. I say the defending champion is a smooth operator. Nicholas Taz Barnes clocked 245 points in this first drive, and he was more attacking with this drive, I think, Elias.
Yeah, he came out storming out of the gate. Here is where the first small hiccup was after the pendulum. He lost some momentum. However, he got back on track, made it work for the flipper. However, the second flipper was where I think the biggest mistake happened, unfortunately. He couldn't wash through and continue the drift out there. So I think the judges will be harsh on him. However, in the beginning, we saw his facial expression. It's rather like he was just parallel parking or anything. So it seemed like he had everything under control. However, the conditions are really tricky, and we could see it, him struggling from the middle of the track.
Better than his first round, Nicholas Taz Barnes. 254 points he's clocked now.
I think he can be really happy with that, and I think the main deduction was on the flipper too. Other than that, it was a phenomenal run, even though he had to work hard for that, especially in the second half of the track.
Up next, Richard Ryan in his Toyota Starlet. That was a beautiful run from Richard Ryan in his Toyota Starlet there. Clocked 247 points in the first round. What will he accumulate in this second drive?
So he really took a wide approach to the figure of 8, which I think in these conditions is really good. Had a so smooth line towards the pendulum, just about to hit it, and went into box 2 as a champ, and then coming out, making the flippers work. So he really showed that it is possible, even in those tricky conditions. He left himself always a little bit of room. The only foot he put wrong was just here in the spinner in the last obstacle, where he just hit two cones. Scores are in, 259 points. I think he can be really happy with that.
Yep, he can be. 247 in the first round, 259 in the second round. May very well be on his way into the top 4. It's a brilliant drive again. And up next is CJ Addison in his Toyota AE86. Chris Addison, here we go. Jay Addison isn't playing at all today.
No, he's come here to really show what he can do. This was a storming run, and what impressed me the most was how good his anticipation for the grip levels were. Like coming into box 1, he had a lot of angle and a wet patch ahead of him, but he already was off throttle. This was the only time something went a little bit wrong in box 2. He had a little bit of understeer, so he had to turn in the wheels to the inside of the track. But other than that, this was a storming and very amazing run in these tricky conditions. He did an amazing job in my eyes, especially in those conditions. Score is in 267 points. Amazing.
That's a big score. That's a big score for CJ Addison. Maurice Whittingham up next. Had a wonderful run first time out, clocking 253 points. What will he do this time around? Yeah, I don't think he'll be able to finish that one. The veteran is absolutely gutted with that one. Maurice Whittingham was in so much control the first time we saw him this afternoon, and then something just happened there.
Yeah, like he came out swinging. I just wanted to say this is the most exciting run we've seen so far. Like he just put it an exclamation mark on everything he's done, like went to the track edges as far as he could, but this is the point where everything went wrong. He unfortunately clipped the concrete barrier with the rear. That pulled the front in, and he also hit another concrete barrier, and you can't argue with them. It's inches, it's very inches, and this is definitely, here you can see how fine the line is between making it work and disaster. This is unfortunately disaster, but he's out, Maurice is out, and he's fine. This is the most important thing. He can repair his car, and most important, he is just fine. But yeah, the car definitely took some beating. This will be a lot of work in the workshop.
He was ripping it, you know. He was riding and driving high on confidence, especially after what we saw in the first drive that he had, but just in terms of calibration, just couldn't stop. And then once he hit the back, it was all over for him. Yeah. But he's okay, and that is enough. Disappointed initially, of course, but the veteran is all right, and that's him out of the competition. It was, before that moment, a sterling effort from the first round, and of course for the first part of the second run.
Yeah, he definitely put on a show. Like, this was the most entertaining run, I would say, until this point. Now the crew is working to get the car off, to also put the pendulum back in position, that for the rest of the drivers everything is as before. So the rescue car is just about to approach here. We can see it, and they will make their best effort to get the car off the track safely. But yeah, Maurice will have a lot of work to do to get his car back, but I'm sure he will be back, because as much as he enjoyed the ride until there, you could tell by just listening to the refs this nice Toyota made until then.
So something interesting is happening as we see the field just being cleared in the aftermath of what has happened with Maurice Whittingham's Toyota Corolla. Is that the defending champion Nicholas Taz Barnes is right on the edge of not making it to the top 4. Now, what this has happened because Whittingham was on his way to at least surpass him and not the defending champion. Now, with this accident, and there are 2 drivers remaining, he's right on the edge, but we're talking about the top 2 in this series so far. And I tell you what, it's really interesting to see what will happen as to who will make it to the top 4. We'll take a quick break here from the Catherine Hall Sports Complex. When we return, a lot more action on the track.
What is professional football in TNT? It's our culture.
between Nicholas Taz Barnes and his mentor Cleve Ottey. Cutter hype. And this is his final run, the final run in the top 8. He seeks 255 points. .55 points. That is the magic number for Cleve Ottey. It was a good run.
This was a astonishing run. So yeah, the tension, you can feel the tension and seeing the judges deliberating on the score. So let's see the run again. He took off really strong, solid. Still the changing conditions from wet to dry, he made the pendulum work, entered into the second box perfectly, and also made the flippers work. The second one was really close, but he just made it, and then he brought it home from there.
The magic number is 255 points. 278, a fantastic score for Cleve Ottey. And we will have a new champion in the Red Bull Car Park Drift.
This is the highest number, the highest score that we see so far. So he can be really happy. He seems to be pleased, but quite relaxed there.
We saw a shot of him speaking with the defending champion, now former champion, in Nicholas Barnes. Barnes looks up to him as a mentor. The chief mechanic of his car is Cleve Ottey, and he actually taught Nicholas Barnes to drive. Finished second last year behind Nicholas Barnes, who had the opportunity to go to Saudi Arabia to represent Jamaica. And now, having eliminated his student and Barnes out of the top 4, Cleve Ottey has found himself in the top 4 and is a heavy favorite to go to Qatar later this year. This is the top 4. You'll see the defending champion Nicholas Barnes is out. Cleve Ottey on top in this round, 278 points. Stephen Samuels second on 270 points. Chris Addison in third spot, 267 points. And Richard Ryan rounding out the top 4, 259 points. These will make up the final 4 and will crown a new champion very soon. We take a break. Back with the top 4 after this.
You're never far from home when you're watching Scene TV. We bring the Caribbean to you. And now it's even easier to stay up to date on all things Caribbean when you subscribe to our YouTube channel. The latest action in sports, the biggest news stories in the region, and all the excitement in the world of entertainment. So join our community today. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and click the notification bell to stay informed. Scene TV, your preferred eye to the Caribbean.
What is professional football in TNT? It's our culture. It's a community. It's a vibe. It's skill.
Time and space.
It's goals.
He's on target.
It's the TT Premier Football League. March to July 2023.
Look at this, it's a magic moment. A la peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Nothing so about it.
the Red Bull Car Park Drift. We are down to the final 4. Richard Ryan, Chris Addison, Stephen Samuels, and Cleve Ottey, a man who appears that he can do no wrong this afternoon here in Catherine Hall. And let's see what these 4 will offer. They would want to do no wrong. Richard Ryan will start in his Toyota Starlet. Up to the very end, almost correct for Richard Ryan, and a strong start he had in this run.
Yes, like the start looked perfectly, like he was swinging out wide, doing it really tidy. Also coming into box 1 where you enter dry and then come on a wet spot, he managed perfectly fine. He hit the pendulum. Box 2 was fine. He was really cautious on throttle towards the flipper 1 and also made flipper 2 just work. And yeah, it looked like he was almost on the perfect run until the last obstacle, and you see how difficult it is. There's really wet, really slippery, and he hit over some coins that will have hurt his score. It's in, still super high, 265 points.
It's massive. It is massive for Richard Ryan.
And actually improvement to the runs before, 247 and 259 points, so he can be super happy.
CJ Addison up next. He wants to beat 265 points. CJ Addison, what a performance. The magic number for him, 266. And it was a smooth ride on that occasion.
Yes, like he put in a stormer run. He got out the gate, figure of 8, easy thing to do for him, made everything work. And we also see the onboards, how he's working in the car, and it looks really under control all the time. Like getting the pendulum, getting the entry to box 2. And the only obvious thing that I saw where he did made a mistake was at flipper 2. Score is in.
258 points in second spot. In second spot is CJ Addison at the moment.
But still a huge improvement to his former runs. So he had 240 in the first and 212 in the second. So you can just see how the guys are pushing harder and harder.
Stephen Samuels up next. The penultimate driver here in the top 4. Again, the match number 266. Well, that's closure. That is closure. In the end, getting it right, Stephen Samuels.
Yeah, the drift kid, as they call him. So he came out really smooth again. Really smooth. The figure of 8 also entering box 1. And making the transition towards the pendulum was perfectly fine. He hit the pendulum, box 2, but then it started to fall apart for him, unfortunately. Just coming out of box 2, he couldn't make the flipper 1, and I think he also missed, unfortunately, the second clipper. These are very valuable points that he's missing, and just coming to the end of the track, it seems like the car shut down on him. I mean, this is also something you can see how much beating the cars take, and it's really hard. So the scores are coming in.
196.
He won't be happy with that. However, like looking at his runs before, they were astonishing with 239 points and 270. A bit of a disappointment for him, definitely. But well, he made it to the top 4, deserved it there, and he was just a little bit unlucky.
Well, this is his moment now, isn't it? Cleve Ottey on the verge to be the national champion. The magic number 266 points. Ottey, his final run to make his true name. Has he showcased that he is the master of his craft? Cleve Ottey with a drive to die for, and he may just have walked away with the national title.
let's see, like this run was really, really perfect. Like it looked from time to time a bit tentative, but very calculated, and he didn't put a foot wrong. At least I couldn't see it. He made everything work. Here was maybe the tiniest of bit of correction, but other than that, he really made everything work. Looked like he was almost shopping just for grocery. Really calm and relaxed on the inside. But yeah, let's see if he might be the new national champion. We see Nicholas here rooting for him. So let's see.
The magic score, 266 at the very least. The master has become the champion. Cleavati, with the 270 beside his name, is your winner. What a ride that was.
This was astonishing, amazing. I mean, like, he put the highest score in his second run in with 278 points, and he definitely deserved the win here. Yeah, congratulations. This was an amazing run.
He saw his student cop it last year, Nicholas Taz Barnes, and he had to send him off to Saudi Arabia. There's the dethroned champion, but he's as happy as the driver this evening here at the Catherine Hall Sports Complex. Cleavati has done it, has overcome all the challenges here, including his student. And the man who finished second last year is now at the very top of the podium. Cleavati cut a hype, cutting through the competition in his Toyota Starlet. At the start of this series, he said he wasn't totally comfortable with the fact that he was driving a Starlet, that he had to really compensate with the shape of the car and getting through the obstacles. But really and truly, I suspect it was all talk, because he is a master and he is the national champion. Fabulous effort today inside Montego Bay. And just to confirm the final run with Otti, clocking 270 points, finishing 5 points ahead of Richard Ryan. Also driving a Starlet, Chris Addison, CJ Addison in third spot on 258 points. Stephen Samuels in fourth, 196 points in his Toyota Starlet. But the crown belongs to Cleavati with a fabulous series of drives. We take a break. Back with more after this.
We've been taught that to be the best, you gotta train like the best. You gotta go where the best goes. You gotta
Winner it is. It's Mr. Cleve Cutter himself. Cutter Hype, champion here in Montego Bay of the Red Bull Car Drift. An excellent performance, and he receives his prize from last year's champion. So, congratulations to all three drifters here. They put on a show here in Montego Bay. Beautiful stuff here, and I'm sure you guys really enjoyed it. So let me just get a quick word here from Mr. Cutter Hype himself. Cutter, you must be pleased with this effort here today.
Yes, a very great feeling.
And how was the drifting all day?
It was great, perfect.
And I know you came back this year and you won. You came second last year and now you're the champion this year. This must make you feel good.
Yeah, man, very good feeling.
Right, and you'll be representing Jamaica as well. That must be a good thing for you.
Good feeling.
Good feeling all around. Well, congratulations here. And let's have it now for three drifters here at the Red Bull Car Drift and to our champion, Cutter.
Well, it's safe to say that he does his talking on the track. Cutter Hype, Clevati, and it has been a wonderful display by him here at the Montego Bay Sports Complex in Catherine Hall. Finished second last year, and he'll now pop the champagne with his first place finish. Clevati, the toast of the Red Bull Car Park Drift, the champion, the national champion, Jamaica's national champion. He'll remember these pictures. He'll bask in these moments with his first place finish. Took him a minute, but he has something to smile about now, Clevati. Cutter Hype decimating the competition this year. It's now time to see what he will do on the world stage. Clevati. Tonight he'll drink the champagne. He'll revel in the success, his achievements, his first place finish at the Red Bull Car Park Drift here in Montego Bay. It has been a privilege carrying this to you, reminding you of the winner, Clevati, Cutter Hype in his Toyota Starlet, the champion, the ultimate champion of the Red Bull Car Park Drift in the island of Jamaica. He will represent this land of wood and water in Qatar later this year. On behalf of the hard-working production team here at the Home of Champions, it is goodbye from Montego Bay.